Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you need to make your grid for your hue, tint, and shade painting. You need to get a ruler, and you're going to take the ruler and line it up with the edges of your paper. Your paper is 12 inches by 12 inches, so the beginning of the ruler will be at the end of the page, and the other end of the ruler will be on the other side at the end of the paper. So I'm just going to make a dot where it says 4, because my squares are going to be 4 inches by 4 inches. So I just put a dot here at 4, and then I'm going to put another dot at 8. Because your paper is 12 by 12, to make even squares, your lines need to be 4 inches apart, because 4 times 3 equals 12. So I've got dots there. I'm going to turn my paper, line my ruler up with the edge, dot at 4, dot at 8. I'm going to turn my paper again, dot at 4, dot at 8, and then I turn my paper again.
Good morning, Parker.
Okay, so after you've made those little dots every 4 inches on every side of your square, now you're going to fold your paper. And you're going to fold your paper where you see the dots. You do dots on both sides to make sure that your fold is straight. I also look at the edges of my paper to make sure they line up, and that's how I know I'm doing it correctly. So there's fold 1. It doesn't matter which direction you fold them, just as long as you get it done. Okay, now I'm going to fold it the other way because I'm making a grid. So right here, I see that dot. I'm going to fold it up like this. And I'm going to fold the other side. It's kind of easy. After you do that first fold, you just line your paper up to where that crease is, and you know you've done it right. Okay, so now I've got my grid on my paper. I'm going to write my name on this while I'm thinking about it. And I'm going to make sure that that's on the back. Okay, now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to start painting. The first row, the row at the top, is going to be the hue. And you are going to paint it just the color that you received at your table. So all 3 of your squares, and in my case, I've got the color red, all 3 of them are going to be red. Now, boys and girls, also remember, I am hurrying. I want yours to be done neatly. You can take your time a little bit on this. They don't have to be perfect. Remember, we're going to be cutting these out. Okay, now the next line is going to be tints. If you want to start with shades, that's fine. I'm going to start with tints. Now, I need to have 3 different values of tint. This will be my darkest, this will be my medium, this will be my lightest. And a tint is the color plus white. I already have red on my brush, and I'm going to put it onto the tin foil. I'm gonna rinse my brush out. My goal is to keep the paint in the palette as clean as possible. If it's not perfect, that's okay. All right, now I'm gonna add white. Now this to me looks like a very light tint. So I'm gonna paint that color where my lightest one should go. I'm gonna paint it down here at this end. That's gonna be my lightest tint. I'm gonna add a little more red to my tin foil because I'm running out of paint, and I'm gonna add a little more white. If it's slightly different than what you started with, really, it's gonna be okay. I just wanna know that you can control paint well enough to create 3 different tints. Okay, my next square here is going to be slightly darker. So I'm going to add more red to what I've already started. And that's a darker tint. Sometimes I might add a little bit of water just to make that paint spread a little bit further. And then my last one, I'm going to add a little more red to that. Okay, so I have 3 separate tints. Now the bottom row, those are going to be my shades, and I'm cleaning my brush out really well because I don't want any of that white mixed in. And I'm going to take my red, I'm going to put it on my tin foil right here. Black is very powerful. I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of black just to see what happens. Yeah, that's pretty dark. I'm gonna go ahead and make this the lightest shade. I know it's kind of dark. You know what? I think I'll make it my medium. I think it's a little too dark to be my lightest shade. Yeah, this is right. Now I'm going to add more black to this. This is going to be my darkest shade. Now when you kids are painting this, try to get all the way up to the fold, all the way up to the crease. We don't need to have these white edges on your squares. I have them just because I'm going quickly. I expect yours to be a lot better than mine. And then my last shade is going to be a lot of red. And instead of mixing black into it, I might just take some of this darker shade and mix it. That's pretty nice. That's good. Oh, it's a little too close. It's a little too close to medium here, so I'm gonna mix more red into it. Oh, that's good. This is pretty much the same thing you did when you made value scales with colored pencil, except you're doing it with paint. And that's the thing that's nice about paint. It's easier to mix colors than it is with the colored pencil. So I would expect all of you are going to do a really good job on this. So this is your grid of a hue row, you've got a tint row, and you've got a shade row. After you're finished painting it, I want you to put it on the drying rack to dry. And that's what you're doing today.